Your mommy probably told you that you need to eat vegetables in order to be big and strong and to be healthy. But what if I told you that fiber wasn't essential at all? That you could actually be bigger and stronger without eating fiber whatsoever or to have any vegetables at all? Ooh. My name is Keegan, and I've been on a carnivore diet for about a year now, and it has really changed my life. And I found that I do a lot better without any fiber whatsoever. And so in this video, I just kind of want to break down the few points that I have on if you should have fiber in your diet, like what it is, how it affects your body, and if you should have it in your diet or not. So with that, let's get into it. So first things first, before we say like, oh, fiber is good or fiber is bad, let's talk about what it is. Because I think that's kind of the biggest thing to understand about it. And once you understand what it is and how it's not essential, I think you then can make a better decision on if you should include it in a high degree to your diet or not. So in regards to what fiber is, okay, it's a chain of carbohydrates, it's a chain of glucose, right? And it's just put together like one by one, and it's basically what makes up a lot of plant body, basically. So if you were to take, a plank of wood, that's fiber. If you take some sawdust, which they put in processed food sometimes to increase the fiber content, that's fiber, right? So like wood is made of fiber, but it's really just like the building blocks that cells have for their bodies, right? And the special thing about this, the reason why fiber is so different from other carbohydrates is if you have like regular table sugar, it has a certain kind of bond between one sugar molecule and the other sugar molecule, right? Glucose and fructose, if you take table sugar, right? It is a certain kind of bond in your body that you can break off, and then you can get energy from that, and you can also break the glucose and stuff apart, right? And you can do that with stuff like starches as well, which you can get in like potatoes and stuff. Because it's just a singular, it's like the same shape of bond that goes across it. But the thing with fiber, which is also called cellulose, it has alternating bonds. So it's like one goes up, one goes down, one goes up. And the reason why that's important is because it takes certain enzymes in our body to break those bonds down, and we don't have those, right? We have the enzymes. We have some enzymes for like starches and like sugar and stuff, because those can give us like a hit of energy. Though I don't think carbohydrates are that great. We have the ability to digest those, right? And that's good. It confers a survival benefit, right? But we're not adapted to break down fiber. No vertebrate animal is. Literally, like even cows, they eat grass every single day. They're just munching on fiber all the time. But it's not them that breaks it down. They don't produce the cellulase, right? Which would be the enzyme that matches up with cellulose to break it down. They don't do that. It's the bacteria in their gut that do that, right? So we just don't have the hardware to really break down fiber. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But that's really what fiber is it's glucose molecules with alternating bonds, and that's really what it is. But getting back to where I was with how you possibly could digest it, right, is bacteria. Bacteria are like the only things, unless you take some weird cellulase enzyme to break it down, you can't break down fiber, right? So it literally just passes through your gut. You literally just poop it out. It's indigestible. You cannot absorb it for any nutrition. And therefore, it is not a nutrient. And people will say, oh, but fiber is an essential nutrient. Fiber is an essential nutrient. You need to have fiber in your diet. Blah, 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 blah. And, they cite all these studies saying, oh, but fiber helps you live longer. But that's because more people that's influenced a lot by healthy user bias. If you really think about it, people who eat more fiber typically are eating more fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, and eating less junk food. Because a lot of junk food doesn't have a ton of fiber in it, unless they put some weird like sawdust in it to bump up the fiber content to say it's healthy. But generally, a lot of junk food doesn't have a ton of fiber in it. And the vast majority of people eat a lot of junk food. So, of course, if you eat more fruits and vegetables, you're going to be eating more fiber, but you're also going to be eating less junk food. That doesn't mean fiber is the ultimate arbiter of health. You can't digest it. So, how does that make you any healthier? It's because you're not eating the junk food. So, there's that. Also, I just want to point out what a nutrient actually is. It's a substance or a substrate, right, that is essential for nourishment and growth and maintenance of life. Okay? It doesn't help you grow because all it does is take energy away from you. It doesn't nourish you because you literally cannot absorb it. Maybe it helps you maintain because you aren't eating other things, but that's a maybe. So it literally cannot classify as a nutrient. So that's kind of the baseline. Fiber is not a nutrient. It is just this waste. It's nothing, right? It's just a thing that passes through you. It's like if you ate metal, right? Like maybe you can get a little bit of benefits for it, but you're going to poop it out, right? But like if you ate plastic, maybe you'll absorb some of the plastic, but that doesn't help you at all, right? But even with the fiber, you don't digest any of it, bro. Like it's just not, it's pointless to really eat it, except for some use cases, which I'll get to in a minute. But those use cases really involve the fact that fiber actually blocks the absorption of some nutrients, right? It kind of does it indiscriminately. It blocks like just 10% or so of the nutrients that you absorb, because if you consume, I believe it's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber, it's two different types or so, they'll kind of mesh together in this kind of, structure, and it'll go through your gut and it will block the absorption of other food on, kind of the other side of that. If you imagine your intestine is on this side, your intestine cells to absorb nutrients on this side, fiber is blocking all the other nutrients that can get in, right? But the thing is that's completely pointless if you're eating just whole, clean food, right? If you're just eating meat, for example, like I am, or like meat and eggs and fish, those sorts of things. That is super nutrient-rich food that is amazing for your health. But if you eat fiber, you're just blocking that for no reason. And so you're really not getting the most bang for your buck, because it's just blocking it. It goes down into your colon and then you just poop it out later on. You don't get any, you just basically add to the waste. That's not good, in my opinion, because you're literally just depriving yourself of nutrition for really no reason other than the fact that people say, oh, but you need fiber. Oh, you need fiber. It's not really true, okay? By the way, if you want to get onto a ketogenic or carnivore diet, I've made a course for that down in the description, so you can just ignore the all the fiber stuff. You don't need to worry about the next few things that I'm about to talk about. If you just go to a ketogenic carnivore diet, you really don't have to eat fiber for really any health benefits. If anything, it'll actually take away. So I really recommend you check that out, and yeah, link in the description. But moving on, let's talk about how you could actually use fiber, because I'll admit it, even though I don't eat it, I think some people should. And that seems kind of hypocritical. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense, Keegan. I think best case, I think people should really try and move towards a ketogenic carnivore diet like I have myself, because it has really helped my life out. But I understand a lot of people, they still have their vices, and I get it. They're carb addicted. They have these cravings for junk food and stuff. I think if you change your diet and you just got rid of the carbohydrates, you could actually be a lot healthier. But if you still want to consume those things, but you don't want to get as many of the deleterious effects of, spiking your blood sugar and getting the crash and having, weird plant toxins go into your body and all that, fiber might have some use cases, right? Especially if you're eating like junk food and stuff. If you eat fiber beforehand, you're going to absorb less of it. So I think that's one example of how you could do it. Like, before you go and binge on a ton of cookies, have some vegetables. You'll probably be you'll probably like not want to go eat the cookies anyways, because you'll feel so like bloated and full from all the gas building up in your stomach. So you probably won't even want to go eat the cookies. Yeah, that's great. Or you could just not eat any of that and just feel awesome all the time by just eating meat. But yeah, or or along with blocking all the crap that comes from junk food, if you eat fiber, you can also block the sugar that you absorb. So if you're eating like fruits since they have more fiber in them, generally are going to be better than like just straight up raw sugar. Now, you're still going to absorb some of that sugar and spike your blood sugar, raise your insulin, mess with your satiety signals, and all of that jazz that comes with eating sugar. But if you eat more fibrous fruits like berries, for example, it's not as bad. And I will admit, like, they do taste good. I don't think you should have them, but they do taste good, and they're probably going to be a lot better for you than some ultra, ultra sugary, highly modified like banana or something, right? If you had like like a blueberry or a strawberry, I know technically a banana is a berry, but I'm talking like more fibrous stuff. I think those are generally going to be better picks than some sugary thing. If you insist on having sugar, I think including fiber in your diet at that point might actually be a good play. Another thing though, something I've noticed is that, and something I've heard a lot of, is that when people remove fiber from their diet, they can actually let their gut heal. And I mean, it's also just because you're removing a ton of other stuff on a carnivore diet, but your gut can feel a whole lot better if you remove the fiber. I remember I used to really experience a lot of bloating and pain, and going to the bathroom was kind of a nightmare, dude. Like, I would drop like 2 pounds after going to the bathroom, if you know what I mean. It was not pleasant, to say the least. And so, if you don't like that, I guess that's another reason why you probably shouldn't be eating that much fiber. But again, kind of the use cases, if you're eating junk food, I guess eat more fiber, or just not eat the junk food. That would work too. Or if you're eating, carbohydrates that, mess with your blood sugar and can really send you down metabolic dysfunction, maybe having more fibrous version of like fruits and stuff might be a good option there. But in general, I would say that you don't need it. I think it's completely and utterly useless, except for very few exceptions. And I think you should just eat meat, to be honest. If you want to have in some stuff for like variety, okay, but it's like there's really no reason to be eating fiber. Don't let these people convince you, oh, but you need to have fiber. Why? Why? If I'm eating completely healthy food, I'm going like I feel amazing. And I haven't eaten fiber for a year now. I feel great. And yeah, that's kind of just my end rant. Anyways, moving on. Do you really need fiber? Maybe. If you eat a lot of junk food and you're carb addicted, sure you need fiber. But if you swap to a ketogenic or carnivore diet, really just a carnivore diet where it's just meat based and you eat almost exclusively animal products, you're going to absorb most of the food that you eat, and you don't have any of the deleterious things that come along with like carbohydrates or plants and stuff like that. So you don't have waste coming out of you because it's useless. So yeah. So if you want help, again, with getting onto a ketogenic carnivore diet, sounds pretty cool. I made a course for that down in the description where you can basically learn how to do it, common pitfalls, sticking to it, that sort of thing. If that sounds interesting to you, again, link in the description. And I'll see you in the next one.